Hey Homeberries, I've reacted to the lowest ranked Power Rangers episodes from the Saban era as determined by voting on the Internet Movie Database. So I'll be telling my favorite and least favorite of these episodes I've reacted to. You'll remember I also said I was going to try to work that Saturday Night Live trash quote into each reaction. I haven't always remembered, but just for fun, I'll also tell when I made the quote for each reaction. The Saban era is divided into the Zordon era and the Post-Zordon era. So I'll do both of those, but I plan for this to be just in one part. I think I've said everything I need to, so let's begin. We'll start with the Zordon era. Interestingly enough, my two favorites from this are ones that I started watching and then at a point I realized, oh wait, I've seen this before. I remember this. So my favorite is a Chimp in Charge from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 3. I just think Bulk and Skull were gold in this one. There was the joke, there the gang was sitting with the chimpanzee. Bulk came in and cracked, "Hey Tommy, I see your twin brother's in town." I said, okay, that's good. So then the part in which I did the trash joke was in a scene with Rita and Zed berating Goldar. I also jokingly started to say it again after the plan failed. The dynamic between Rita and Zed was good too, because they were just joking, and also it started out kind of joking, and then at the end they were berating each other, so they just had a good dynamic playing off each other. Regardless of what you think about their relationship, I thought it was interesting. At least in this episode. Then there's Wheel of Misfortune from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1. First off, there was a Goldar and Scorpina fight, so really right away that gets me excited. There was also one with wholesome moments, another one where you see the friendship between the Rangers, so I like that. For that one I made the quote when I was talking about how I was going to try to do the quote for each one. It's also basically about Rita since she was in the dumpster. Then two were just mediocre. Attack of the 60-foot Bulk from Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers. It's one that shows the relationship the Rangers have with Bulk and Skull. They're antagonistic, but they've also sort of grown. I don't think you'd call it a friendship, but they're close to each other. They wanted to help Bulk, and also kind of like, oh, that's Bulk. We know him. You know how you know somebody. It's like, oh, that's just so-and-so. Also, the monster had some sort of joystick shoes. So that should raise it up a point in the ratings. And I made the trash quote when Goldar and Rito were berated by Rita. Then there's the Great Bookula Escape, or Bookula Escape, however it's pronounced, from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 2. It had wholesome moments, and also a message of you can be friends with someone even though you have differences. You can be close to someone. So it had wholesome moments and showed the Rangers helping someone in need, but other than that, it was just kind of dull. I forgot to do the trash quote, but it would have been either during a scene with Bulk and Skull or with a part in which the spaceship didn't work. So then the worst, Andros and the Stowaway from Power Rangers in Space. It wasn't a bad episode, really, but it definitely had its issues. I get it was to show, or I assume it was to show, Andros being caring and wanting to help others who aren't able to defend themselves or seem like they can't defend themselves. So I get that. It's meant to show he's a good guy, and it does that. It really does. They just need to develop the script more, because there were some things that didn't make sense. There was the one point there the monster had the Rangers on the ropes. They were down, and then he just left. I asked, wait, why did he leave? So that they needed to work more on the script for that one, I think. Then I gave the trash quote, not for anything in the episode, but because the ads were annoying. That was one they kept showing, that same annoying ad. For crying out loud from Power Rangers Zeo. This is probably my most disliked episode that I've reacted to from the Zordon era, but I'll explain in a bit why I don't think it's the worst. I gave the trash quote when Bulk and Skull were driving through a farm. I said it turned into one of those 1970s Southern driving comedy movies. I go ahead and bring that up because that's part of why I don't think this is... I think that's one of the saving graces of this episode. You had Bulk and Skull shenanigans, and you had Billy showing he can be valuable even though he's not on the front lines, which I think was good. So, I didn't like it overall. I didn't like it overall, but it had some saving graces, so I didn't put it at the worst. It was hard to choose a worst, because my bottom two on this list were ones that I would prefer not to watch again. I would, but I wouldn't think, oh boy, let me turn on this episode. So it was a hard decision. But the one I picked for my least favorite of the Zordon era, despite it not being my most disliked, was a bicycle built for the Blues from Power Rangers Turbo. It's not because it's considered notoriously bad. You see these lists of worst episodes, and I didn't pick it just for that. I didn't pick it for that at all. Other people's input did not affect this list in any way. I put it as the worst on this list because it just had nothing going for it. I was thinking throughout the whole first half, first 2/3, why don't they just pull a pit maneuver? Finally, they got him off the bicycle. The thought is, oh good, but then there's the thought of, it took you long enough. Someone online pointed out other solutions they could have had too. The monster wasn't good. It was the infamous Big Burpa. I was waiting, I thought, oh, well, maybe her power is she belches out missiles or rays. No, she burps just to burp. This is one I forgot to do the trash quote, but it would have been with the henchmen. Likely at the end, the henchman just did some random terrible Elvis impression that just flummoxed me more than the episode already had. So it's not knee-jerk dislikable. You just think, what is this? What was this that I just watched? So then there's the Post-Zordon Era, and I'm including Time Force with this. My favorite was Until Sunset from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. You may think, well, that was a clip show. Well, yes, but it was a well-made clip show. The frame story made sense. It's one of the best I've seen in a clip show. It did its job of filling in the audience on what had happened. It had human moments and emotions, so it may have been a clip show, but I found it enjoyable. I did the trash quote again, not for anything in the episode, but because they kept showing that stupid ad 90 seconds long, and, oh, what was it, like 3 or 4 times, so. And the ad placement was bad because they were in the middle of a serious, emotional moment, and then it just cut to the ad. So then my other favorite was the most recent one, the Flute. For one thing, it didn't have the cliche of waiting until there's a serious situation to work out an issue. There was an issue, but I don't think the guy knew that. It really didn't seem like he knew the other Rangers were in danger. It was just, oh, hey, I've done some thinking. I've realized what our issue is. Let's try to work it out. So I liked that. There was also this mystery going on. So that made it intriguing. You wondered, oh, what is this boy's story? My only issues with this, one, the monster was playing the flute and she thought the guy was playing the flute badly. I said, well, he had clearly stopped playing, so you should have noticed it wasn't him. Then that was worked out, though. The other, oh, what was it? It said the monster was forcing them to dance. The first time that happened, I wish they had given some indication about how long they'd been made to dance, because there they were, looked like they'd been slow motion dancing for 20 seconds, and then, oh, they're exhausted. What? How long were they dancing? The second time they did a much better job of that, so that's good. Then the trash quote, perfect opportunity. They were throwing the monster on the ground like that song, I threw the cake on the ground. Then only 4 episodes in the Post-Zordon Era, if you include Time Force. So then the bottom 2, In the Limelight from Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. I know what they're going for. They just didn't have any subtlety. The Ranger became famous as a model, and then she just became a monster. This plotline has been done better in old folk tales like the Grimm's Tale. I think it's called The Fisherman and His Wife. There was also I forget the author and I apologize, but this story based on folk tales, the woman who the woman who lived in a vinegar bottle, or the old woman who lived in a vinegar bottle, in which the woman becomes obsessed with things. And she has to learn her lesson. I also think there was a way it could have worked out that she was a ranger and a model. She could have balanced that. So it did have a good premise, good lesson, but I think it needed to be handled with more subtlety and depth. Then the trash quote was with the fashionista raving about things not being good enough. Then again, it was a hard decision for which one I thought was the worst. But I decided Short-Circuited from Power Rangers Time Force. I forgot to give the trash quote, but it would have been appropriate for either the climax, which I'll get to in a minute, or the ending with a joke about stepping in poop. Again, I'm not sure I could say I didn't dislike it as much as in the Limelight, because they're about the same, but the reason I put it at the worst, it botched its own message, or seemed to. I think the message was about making communication clear, but it was strange because basically it seemed like the character had forgotten what he had said. He covered up the guy's gym with the tape and said, your gym is grounded for the day, no more using it. So then during the climax they needed him and he didn't want to use his gym. They said, now's the time to use it. Said, you said I could never use it again. I thought, huh? They said, oh, forget what I said back then. I didn't mean it like that. I said, wait, he never said it, did he? So for a minute, I doubted my own sanity. So I went back and no, he didn't say you could never use it again. He said, no more for the day. So it would be hard. Even when you take into account he said no more, it is hard to misconstrue. You can't use it for the day as you could never ever use it again in your whole life, no matter what. So I don't recall anything in Power Rangers confusing me as much as that. So then the total list for the Saban area, my favorite to least favorite: Until Sunset, A Chimp in Charge, The Flute, Wheel of Misfortune, Attack of the 60-Foot Bulk, The Great Bookula Escape, Andros and the Stowaway, In the Limelight, For Crying Out Loud, A Bicycle Built for the Blues, and Short Circuited. So when I finish the Disney era, I'll have the best and worst for that, and so on. So that's it for now. I think like I mentioned in the previous video, I think I'll take a break from reactions until January, so have a blessed night and happy holidays, everybody.